going to start the meeting. Welcome to the September 19th, 2013 Board of Appeals. Nicole, would you please call the first application?
First applicant is Walton Woods LLC, request to modify condition 29 of the comprehensive permit issued on January 6, 2003. The project is located at Stenbeck Place, map 45, block 16, and parcel 50.
You already make this more complicated because you brought pictures.
Yeah. We're trying not to leave anything to the imagination this time.
Okay.
That's good enough. Yeah. For the record, my name is Robert Devon. I'm the attorney representing Walton Woods. We have run into a problem. Construction, as you know, has commenced on the project, and we have run into a problem with the neighbors on Stenbeck Place. Paragraph 29 of the comprehensive permit, the last sentence in it, says that all construction vehicles to enter and exit the premises from Tilden Road. The comprehensive permit requires that a lot of work be done in Stenbeck Place. New water lines, new light poles, paving, which obviously necessitate construction vehicles being on Stenbeck Place while that work is being done. Beyond that, there seems to be, the problem seems to have been aggravated and I think confused is the right word, about the status of Stenbeck Place. I'm told that the residents of Stenbeck Place have called the police on a number of occasions when Stenbeck Place has been used to access the project by realtors driving their private cars, by plumbers using their vans or pickup trucks, light vehicles which use every street in the town of Scituate. My understanding of the legal status of Stenbeck Place is that it is an approved way under the subdivision control law, although it may not have been accepted, obviously hasn't been accepted by the town of Scituate. As an approved way under the subdivision control law, it is a way to which the public has access, which means that anybody driving a vehicle is entitled to drive on Stenbeck Place as much as they are entitled to drive on a public street in the town of Scituate. So the objection, I think, to the use of Stenbeck Place by realtors using their private vehicles and by the small pickup trucks and the plumber's vans and the painter's vans and things of that nature, I think is really misplaced. The real concern, I think, is the heavy construction vehicles, the concrete trucks that come to pour the foundation, the tractor trailers that come to deliver the lumber for the units that haven't yet been built, the trucks that deliver the big drainage pipes and stuff like that. My client is and remains willing to require that all those vehicles access the property off of Tilden Road. And that means that probably, well, not probably, 100% of the heavy vehicles would enter the property off of Tilden Road as was contemplated, I think, by the comprehensive permit as it was written. I guess we need some clarification is really what we need on this condition. And what I just suggested to you was perhaps a compromise in terms of how we do it. Require that all of the heavy construction vehicles and deliveries enter and exit the premises off of Tilden Road and allow the access over Stenbeck Place for the private cars, the pickup trucks, and the small plumbers and painters' vans and things of that nature, which regularly traverse any public street in the town of Scituate.
Anything else?
That's a suggestion and a statement of my understanding of the issue. Obviously, it's going to get really aggravated when the work really begins on Stenbeck Place in terms of the paving and stuff like that. That necessarily requires heavy vehicles be on Stenbeck Place, and so we got to somehow accommodate that in whatever compromise we come up with.
Neil, you've probably been dealing with this, huh?
I have, and the two biggest complaints we received have to do with dust and speeding cars. And, you know, I have not witnessed the speeding cars, but I have seen the dust up there. And, you know, my thought is somehow or other, and also the language in the, as I read it, it says all construction vehicles. So the question comes to me, you know, is certainly a real estate agent's not a construction vehicle, but
I would agree.
you know, a light pickup truck, just where, you know, or even a car that a worker is coming to work in, is that a construction vehicle? So my call, for the time being, I said, you know, you need to go to the board to get clarification, because my call is going to be anybody with a carpenter, if that's a construction vehicle. I think, you know, I've always felt that, I mean, I think certainly the big trucks need to come in off Tilden Road, no question. There are less residents down there, but there are residents nonetheless, and there's dust down there also. So I certainly think we should hear from the neighbors, but I had hoped maybe there could be some sort of compromise where at least a partial binder coat could be put down and maybe a couple of speed bumps, just to, you know, assuming there were cars speeding down. And, you know, young guys have been known to speed, and so that would be my recommendation. Some kind of compromise or...
You know, the intention is to put down the binder course this fall, but obviously the laterals off the water pipe have to be taken care of before you put that binder down.
That's correct, yep.
But, you know...
Or have some method of wetting it down, you know, at the very least.
Okay.
And I'd be very honest, the complaints, you know, as we've gone along, the complaints are getting less and less, so,
That's
you know,
good.
we are getting cooperation up there, and, you know, I hear the town's engineer say the work in the infrastructure is actually excellent quality, so.
Good.
So we do have, you know, that's a good thing.
Okay.
We'd be willing to put the binder course down before, you know, this season, and take, Paul, are you willing to water it down?
May I speak?
Go ahead.
Yes, we're Paul Morocco, Walden Woods, how do you do?
Good.
The construction ongoing, we have water laterals in, we already have the water mains in, being tested, so we've worked diligently in less than 45 days. Cleared the land, that infrastructure, we've done extensive drainage, all the drainage is taken care of, so there'll be no water runoffs in any of the neighbors. The water lines have been all done. We've tested, all we have to do is laterals on Stenbeck Place, which is 7. It doesn't make sense to put down a binder where I gotta dig up the road again. So we're waiting to do laterals. The water main was just tested, just chlorinated. We're gonna drain it tomorrow, come back with the tests. As soon as we're able to turn the water on, we're gonna start the lateral tests. We have binders set, hopefully to be paving within 4 to 6 weeks. We've swept the street a few times. Unfortunately, we didn't do it lately. We've had water in the street, they drained the hydrants. And typically to bring the smaller vehicles down, it's easier on access on that road. And we have been bringing all, as my attorney has stated, running all the tractor trailers, the heavy structures, heavy pipe, heavy equipment back in off of Tilden, which will continue to do that. And we maintain them, we've been working with them. And, you know, I know the building department's been inundated with phone calls every day, but some of them are done just in spite. I mean, we really tried. We're doing our best to maintain the properties, to make everybody's home look great when we're done. I mean, it's a tough project ongoing, but to do as much construction as we've done, which typically takes 6 months in this amount of period, and I believe Neil can attest to that we're working very hard, very diligently, looking to pave by the end of October. 1st of November, we're just waiting for National Grid, which we have a meeting with them today, just to do the sketches to the underground electric, which comes in off of Tilden. Gas mains coming in off of Tilden. And basically, we're almost done on Stenbeck Place, with the exception of the water laterals, which will begin in about 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Ask
I
a
think
question, is that fire hydrant working? Is it working fire hydrant? The one that's
Right
in-
at the moment it is, it'll be drained tomorrow with the chlorine, and then it'll be fired up just after the test comes back. It goes to the testing labs by 5 o'clock, and we'll have the results by Monday.
Okay.
And if it's chlorinated, then that'll be...
Yeah, so my point, that might be something that the DPW would let you access, or the fire department, just to keep the dust down.
Oh, I'd be more than happy to. I just we haven't had natural water. We've had one of our neighbors, Jenny, who let us use her hose to do construction for mixing mortar and having to do all the manholes and so on and so forth.
I think what you just heard Paul say is he agrees to do whatever Neil is asking, and that would appear to be a reasonable compromise in the short term.
If I may add one more thing, we have been absolutely inundated with floodplain issues. We have over 100 people in a week come in the office. They take up 10, 15 minutes of our time. I've been down to the site a couple of times. We have a project engineer who's representing the town. I rely heavily on him to do it. But, I think if there is a compromise, it really, I have to know that, we're gonna do it every single day. We're gonna wet the roads down. There's not gonna be a dust problem, without me, going down when the neighbors complain. I
Right.
just don't have the time, and
Oh, you'll do that.
unfortunately.
Absolutely.
Paul, we'll do it. We'll do it. We'll water it every day until it's got a binder cord.
Yeah, that
We
would
just
be,
fired the water up yesterday. and
yeah,
just-
because that, as you know, that is, that really is that's
a nuisance.
the big issue,
understand.
And frankly, I have sympathy with the abutters. I live beside, 200 feet away from Kent Village, which went on for 2 years, so I certainly understand. Plus, I was in the business for many years, and I understand. But, I mean, construction is a very disruptive process, and it really requires cooperation of the developer and understanding that, this dust is really, bothers some people more than others.
Absolutely. Frank, did you have a question or comment?
No.
Oh, okay.
Before I comment, I'd like to hear what neighbors have to say, because that's what
Okay,
we're really
that's fine.
addressing.
Is there anybody here that wants to be heard on this issue? Yes, ma'am.
Rose Lockwood, Stenbeck Place. I just want to say I resent the characterization that our issues are spiteful. The issues of dust were probably 2 feet of pavement was cut in the middle of July and just left. It was just dirt, and it was, large trucks were coming down with fill, probably 10 to 12 wheelers, probably, there were days when it was a dozen trips a day, up and down. The dust was a cloud of dust. We couldn't keep our windows open. And I think we have to go back to our last meeting when we talked about the road not being acceptable without sidewalks. We now have less road because it's been cut. We have 5 children who are using the road to go to school, and we have, on a given day, when you have 15, 20 people coming to the site to do different business, they're going up and down the street. You have, 30, 40, 50 trips up and down that short street.
What type of vehicles are you seeing using the road?
Until he was shut down, there were very large vehicles. All the construction vehicles were accessing through, and there was a lot of fill brought in, and there were a lot of loads of fill brought in.
Dump trucks going through the...
Dump trucks, 18-wheeler dump trucks. Numerous. On different days, there were numerous trucks.
Excuse me, Chairman.
Can I finish what I was saying?
I'm sorry.
Can I finish?
Yeah, go right ahead.
So, I don't think there have been spite calls. We've been upset because we don't feel like we've been respected, but I'd be curious to know if a police law could be pulled up with somebody calling to complain about a plumber's vehicle or a realtor's vehicle, because in speaking to my neighbors, I have not heard a conversation about that at all. It's been a concern about these large trucks.
I just want to
The size of
add,
them and going through the dust is just,
Wait.
I'm done.
when you're finished, this problem is under control.
Okay.
And we've done several things to make sure it's under control. And it's a kind of a new
If you're
day.
feeling it's under control, I mean, maybe we don't need to change anything. I mean, I certainly don't think we can't do anything about realtors. I mean, that's not, this is construction trucks.
As far as construction vehicles, Jim, I have an E350 Cube van. I drive to my own main, go home to Turntree, Mass. And the problem is maybe not being able to come down to Stenbeck Place to open up the front of the gates to get to my home is pretty tough. 18-wheelers at very first, yes, we did bring down a few. We couldn't have access from Tilden until we cleared all of the trees, made our way up there in that area. we had to work our way into the site. It's a very heavily treed project. We had to work our way in order to get in.
Okay,
And all
and you
the
know what?
equipment-
I don't care what happened before.
Agreed.
So that's done, right?
The access off Tilden Road is now available.
Okay,
And that's being used every day.
okay.
We're just asking that we're able to use our pickup trucks and come down with other small vans and small vehicles down the road. Because we're gonna be using the road, we're gonna have an excavator on the road, we're gonna be, working with the neighbors, telling them we're gonna be, shutting water down, we're gonna be hooking up laterals, and, that's quite a bit. There's gonna be open trenches daily and closed up at night, and as far as opening up that trench, we've waited, we had to put the water main in and have it tested before we can do any laterals, because once we hook up the lateral, they're able to drink that water that evening, and we had to make sure that it wasn't contaminated. So this is all precise about construction
Right,
goes.
yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Pam Molinari, Stenbeck Place. I think the biggest issue has been just, I feel like a disregard. I know a lot of builders, my husband does construction, and just not wetting the roads, keeping it dust-free. It's a mess.
Yeah.
It really is. And every time, I don't care what size vehicle, every time a car comes down, it's a dust problem. It can be a Camry, it doesn't matter. So to be letting all their construction vehicles come down, when it's not paved or wet, it's a mess. And there's huge puddles. They ripped up this, where the sidewalk was gonna be, so now, the kids can't play at all because there's just big puddles all over the road.
Yeah, and obviously, some of that's going to, in the course of construction, you're going to have some of that for a period of time. But do you, can people raise their hand if dust is the major problem? Okay, well, there was 4 people here, but I'm sure they're representative of the neighborhood. So is that something that could be done on a daily basis to the roads
Well,
ready?
now that the water is on, typically, I was afraid to ask any of my neighbors other than Ginny at the beginning to be able to use any of the waters, because I'd be glad to wet it down. Now that the hydrants are gonna be tested after they're tested, probably by the first of the week, we'll be able to do that.
Okay.
I have no issue with that at all. I plan to do that, but it's like we're restricted with water. We had no water to the
Right.
side at all.
How were you washing your trucks?
All right, I'm sorry. You have to raise your hand, and you put all questions or comments to the chair. But now you could do that.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Is that something they have to get permission from the town to do?
The hydrant?
Yeah, to use the hydrant
Yes.
for winter? Okay, so what would you suggest? You contact,
I'm not sure, well, probably DPW, Water Department.
contact Al and kind of work that out. Sean?
What about a water truck? I know that it's a little late now.
I'm sorry, you'll have to identify yourself for the record.
John Harris, 26 Ridgehill Road.
Okay.
Ask them to provide a water truck, that'll solve everything.
Do you have, could you do something like that?
We don't have one.
You don't have one? Okay.
We have all other types of vehicles.
Okay. Okay.
That wouldn't be allowed on the road either.
Oh, they wouldn't be allowed on the road either. All right, Rose?
Just continuing on, where the road was cut, there's already deterioration. I can send you a picture. The road is falling apart at the edges where it is, so the pavement is really narrow. And I'm going back again to the kids using the
Yeah.
street, going back and forth. There's just, I'd say there's maybe in some places, there's 8 to 10 feet of pavement. And the traffic has chipped off little by little, the edges, especially in front of my house. I don't know how it is farther down, but the road's deteriorating. It wasn't, I know it's a legally accepted subdivision road, but it's not built out to subdivision at this time. The condition was put in place for a reason, and I think we need to go back and think about what that reason was.
Well, at this
can
point,
speak.
huh?
Here's where I'm happy to speak.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm looking on it and wondering why I didn't sign off on this. It may have been the week I was off the board, but I was here for many of the hearings associated with this application. If you read the total of condition 29, it talks about trying to get the infrastructure in one place before building construction of buildings began, and then it says notwithstanding the foregoing, to minimize the length of time heavy equipment is present on the working site, the applicant may construct all foundations simultaneously with constructing the above referenced infrastructure. It's heavy equipment that this was supposed to address. It was not, it does say then, all construction vehicles enter. I don't believe it was ever intended to be referencing, I know I would not have intended it to be referencing pickup trucks. I think a modification that might be acceptable would be something like over 1 ton, construction vehicles over 1 ton capacity or something, which would allow for the pickup truck and the cube van, I'm guessing. The dust issue, if this is something that could have been addressed, if we're still looking at the potential of a problem, we could address it in another way. I mean, I know when I was involved in construction in the city and water was not available, we used calcium chloride. I don't know if that's still even allowed. Calcium chloride is.
Site that I'm ready to do it.
And it's, it basically, it's a dry substance that goes down and then it wets the road. How it does it, it's magic as far as I'm concerned, but it does work. It's used in construction sites all over, and I guess if it's still out there, it must be acceptable for the, for all concerned. I think all of those things should be considered. There's nothing we can do about digging up the road. It's going to be dug up, the pavement's going to disappear, the roads are going to rut, and absolutely, you can't access the road from Tilden until you have an access from Tilden. What this condition was put in for was we didn't want to have literally years of partial construction of the infrastructure while they're building the buildings and selling the buildings, and then walk away from a half-completed project. That was the fear, that was the concern. Most of this condition is not about construction vehicles on Stenbeck. It was about making sure that the work was done in an efficient way and that access of large equipment came off of Tilden. And the discussion was not because of the, wasn't because of the people who lived on Stenbeck. It was about the tight turn coming off of Brook onto Hazel, or coming, we didn't want vehicles coming down Front Street and then coming up, is it Allen? Otis. I mean, there were lots of issues of accessing Stenbeck with heavy equipment and large trucks. That shouldn't be happening. Should not, as little as possible should ever have happened, and that's what the intent here was. But I don't see a problem with a modification that maybe all construction vehicles over 1 ton, or that would alleviate the pickup trucks. You have to be able to get in to do the work. That's just the way it is, and access is important. Keeping the site clean, keeping the dust down, that's extremely important. I can't imagine the town engineers not allowing the use of the hydrants at this time of year. We don't have a severe water shortage and other things, so I imagine it would be, I expect they would accept.
The town routinely flushes out hydrants anyway.
So, I mean, I can't speak for them, it's not our position to tell them how to run that part of the town infrastructure, but I would expect that would be acceptable.
And I am willing, I do have the calcium chloride on site, and now that the water hydrant's going to be live, we're going to be dumping the chlorine tomorrow, so therefore then I'm going to ask them for access to do that, and I will maintain Stenbeck Place with the dust and just the calcium. It's just being able to come in with the small trucks and everything. I understand where the neighbors are coming from.
Yeah.
And we look at that every day. We've locked the gates for quite a bit of time. All the heavy construction is coming on the other end. We just need it for the smaller vehicles and the smaller vans, just like, Mr. Tibbet said.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I just think it's unfortunate that it actually did have to come to this, because really, if he had done what he should have done at the beginning, which was be respectful to people and put the calcium chloride or whatever, wet the roads, nobody would have said anything. It's just been the fact that the road is so dusty, so, I mean, he could have done this before.
Well, we're doing it now.
Good.
So, that sounds great. And to the extent that people are speeding, I don't know, you're just gonna, if people are speeding down there, he's gonna have all kinds of subcontractors and realtors.
I have a suggestion, take the license number down.
Exactly.
We have police in this town.
You do. And that's, and if that's a problem, that should be, that's what you need to do.
And I know Paul's going to talk to his workers, too.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I really have, and I'm all for my guys about coming down the road, go easy, even the realtors. We had a big groundbreaking this afternoon, everybody was great traveling in and out of the roads, and just say, listen, it's a road, respect whatever people have, and that's important.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Well, we had, which I'm hoping he won't use anymore, but at one point, they were using like some all-terrain vehicle whipping up and down the road. Not only are they noisy, they were flying. And it was some fun, you know, I don't know why they were using that, but I haven't seen it
That's good.
lately. Have you? No.
No, good,
But
okay.
until we complained to Neil, they were doing it. So it's bad. You know, it's kind of been a lot of inconsiderate stuff.
Well, you know, unfortunately, when you run a big project like that, there's a lot of people who he maybe doesn't talk to on a daily basis that
Yeah.
don't get it as quickly as others. And so, you know, when we deal with individuals, sometimes they have to be reminded, so.
Well, I will say, he is always there, so he does see this.
Good.
I will say, he's hands-on,
Good.
but he's seeing what's happening when it happens. It's not that he's not there.
All right, so does anybody have a,
Any other comments?
well, actually, yeah, any other comments on this? No. All right, so.
May I make a suggestion?
Yeah, what do we do?
Rather than striking the last sentence, because I do think we want to continue to have Tilden Road be the primary access for the site.
Right,
How about all construction vehicles over 1 ton capacity, all construction vehicles over 1 ton capacity to enter and exit premises from Tilden Road, and dust shall be mitigated as necessary during construction. We're adding dust
that's
as being
fine.
an issue.
That's fine.
just on Stenbeck Place.
I know, dust on the whole thing, because
Yeah.
when you're working in the whole site, the potential for dust is there as well.
Yeah.
And that just kind of blows through. I mean, it's so, just as you would on any construction site, dust should be minimized, and mitigation steps can be taken.
Yes.
And we've talked about 2 today, and I don't want to limit it. I want to just say, shall be mitigated.
Okay,
Get it down, get it undone.
thank you.
Wet down at the end of every day.
No,
Nope.
no, it just shall be mitigated as necessary during construction. Because sometimes if you can't wet it down, you can use calcium chloride or something else.
Assets and children I'm sorry,
And dust
dust.
shall be mitigated as necessary during construction.
So how do we actually have to
My
do?
van is an E350 van, cube van, so,
That's 350 is a ton and a half, or is it?
yeah, it's a ton and a half, so this is a box truck.
It's a big toolbox, what it is.
What I use, so, is it the other one?
So it's a ton and a half, not 1 ton?
Yes.
I still think that's probably going to be all right. 1 ton is a,
Yeah, we have other trucks come down, I mean, FedEx comes down the street every day, and the oil trucks come down the street every day, that they go to our clients' houses to give them oil and everything else, and my truck is just a big toolbox that I use to come in.
1.5
1
ton?
ton does seem a little
Small.
small.
Okay.
There's a lot of recreational pickup trucks, I think, that would exceed 1
Yeah,
ton.
F-350s are 1.5 ton, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Just, can we try E350 and smaller, that's all,
I think
we clarify.
maybe 1.5 ton might get us there.
It's 1.5 ton work, or?
That works. That's my cube van, because that's the only thing that's been called on, so.
Again, and again, I would not qualify an oil delivery truck as a construction vehicle. Personally, I wouldn't qualify a pickup truck
Well, it should be
necessarily
kind of,
as a construction vehicle, but, you know, this was obviously intended to focus on 10-wheelers, 18-wheelers,
They all come in off a tilt.
trailers carrying
Every.
excavators, all of that. Even a rubber-tired
loader, everything goes in.
backhoe should be on, it shouldn't be exiting on and off of Hazel.
Correct.
And again, this was here because if it was on and off of Hazel, not really Stenbeck. Hazel was our biggest concern, Hazel and Brook, and the access into the harbor, so.
It's very tight, yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Elizabeth Barry, Stenbeck Place. I want to know where all the vehicles are going to park. Are they going to park on site, or are they going to park all in everyone's lawns the way they've been doing?
I'm not really sure what you mean.
The construction vehicles have been parking all along the road when they have been working on the road, rather than parking on the site. So where are they going to park when they do come down the road?
Let me answer that, Chairwoman. We are gonna park on the street when necessary with pickup trucks and trucks. We had Holy there the other day doing a water test. And you cannot, we are not gonna truck a walk from 415 feet away from our project all the way up to the hydrant that's at the beginning of Hazel Avenue. It just doesn't make any sense.
No.
We've allowed access to everyone. Everyone's been able to come in the road when they need to be. And do we park on a daily basis on that road? We do not.
I can't imagine why you would. You want to park where you're working.
Correct. And therefore, when we're working on the road, yes, we're gonna have a pickup truck or a box truck to grab tools out to go
Right.
in and be working on the pipes
Right.
and copper pipes and fittings and things.
Yeah. That's not really an issue right tonight anyway, so. All right, so how do we accomplish this? I've not
I think
done
we just
one.
accomplished it.
Yeah, right.
So
Joe-
move to amend
Okay,
the last sentence of condition number 29 to read, "All construction vehicles over 1.5-ton capacity," it should say shall enter and exit the premises from Tilden Road, and dust shall be mitigated as necessary during construction.
Absolutely.
okay.
Seconded.
Ooh, Neil?
It also comes down to Ken Neal
I'll
with it.
direct the question to Attorney Devon. This actually is a request, I believe, you see as a request for modification or request that is not substantial. You have a specific request here, which the board is modifying.
Right.
So you agree to that, is that correct, how that goes?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And if we need to first, do we need to first have a decision
That's what I
by the
was
board
wondering.
that this
Okay.
is not substantial?
Huh?
That's what I was wondering, if we need to first decide whether or not it's not a
Yeah,
substantial.
I happen to think it is insubstantial, but if you feel it's substantial, but you're going to vote in accordance with the motion that I just heard, either one works.
All right.
I would vote that it's not substantial. Change to the,
I would as well. I think we have chosen to, we've voted in the past that
Yeah, how about it's not
comprehensive permit
Yeah, it's not
conditions.
substantial with the following language added.
Yeah.
Okay.
In other words,
All right,
the
the motion
request to
is,
strike the whole sentence.
the motion is that the application to strike condition 29, last sentence, is insubstantial,
motion to amend.
provided that we shall amend the sentence to read. That works? If it was to strike it completely, maybe we should open up the whole hearing and discuss it, but, okay.
Do you get all that, Nicole?
I did.
Awesome.
So it's not, I didn't do a filing and notice butter and a butter. So-
No, you don't need to.
so it's
And that's,
not.
but we would, if we found this to be a
Correct.
substantial
So
change,
if
we would
you're
want to
saying
do
it's
that.
not substantial.
Right.
Right.
All right.
So it's insubstantial. Or not substantial.
Okay, so that was a motion. Second? You seconded?
Did.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
I want to know when the road's going to be paved. There was a time frame of...
He's
6
talking
months.
about the end of October, hopefully, I think is what I heard,
I
right?
thought there was a way for the telephone poles to be moved.
Now, the-
No, we're gonna pay, we're gonna do a binder first. We're gonna do a binder first.
If you think of-
It would take 6 months, excuse me.
If you think about the project down on 139 in Marshfield, and I hate to use that as an example, but they dug it up and they put a binder coat down. And for the last year and a half, we've been dealing with telephone poles in the middle of the street. I just looked at it yesterday. The electric has all been moved. The new poles are there. But the cable and the telephone are still sitting on the old poles, and they've cut the tops off them. I mean, it's a process. Everyone who's on those poles has to get their own project engineers in to do it. So that takes some time. But a
but it
binder
is
coat
gonna be-
is like what they did down there. It's a rough surface. You wouldn't want it to be your permanent front yard, but it's a rough surface which acts like macadam. It is macadam. It's, you won't have any dust. It'll be like being on a
That
road.
will be in 4 to 6 weeks.
The applicant said it was hopefully by the 1st of
Hopefully 4
November.
to 6 weeks, could be as long as 8.
And it's condition of weather and other things, but he'll want to get it in before the cold gets, the issues of cold.
Yes,
And the asphalt plants will shut down eventually.
Excuse me, are you gonna write a decision?
Absolutely.
Ooh,
I will.
Nicole gets extra points for that.
Nice work.
Yes, you have. I just want to make sure.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was a good one.
Let's play nice over there. I understand. We're all trying to. Everyone is. I'm sure the neighbors are as well.
Agreed.
Nice work, Ed.
Okay, our next application is Sarah Chase at 310 Country Way, request a special permit finding the zoning bylaw, sections 810.2, 950.2D, 950.2D, and/or general law, chapter 48, section 6, and/or other relief that the Board of Appeals may grant for raising, reconstruction, extension, and/or alteration of a pre-existing non-conforming single-family residential structure and/or accessory structures thereto on a pre-existing non-conforming lot at 310 Country Way will not be significantly more detrimental.
Who wrote this?
than the existing non-conforming structure or municipal limits.
I think it was LegalZoom.
Yeah.
No, I didn't write that one.
And I didn't write it either.
Without saying something wrong.
Reads like an appellate brief.
Yeah, no kidding. Mr. DeLisi,
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you very much. For the record, Jeff DeLisi of Orenberger Associates. I represent Sarah Chase, who's sitting behind me. Sarah is the owner of and resides at 310 Country Way, and contrary to the publications, is, I think, probably a fairly simple and very straightforward application. Sarah's lot is 15,000 square feet plus. It's 5,000 less than the zoning requirement, and therefore it's a pre-existing lot. The dwelling on the lot was constructed according to the assessor's records in prior to the Civil War. And there's a small nonconformity on the front yard. And there's also an accessory structure which is currently being used as a garage. That's the subject of this application. And the accessory structure, which is on the south side of the property on Country Way, is about a little less than 5.5 feet off of the southerly boundary. And the size of that structure is approximately 20 by 22 feet currently. The structure is in very poor condition. Ceiling's leaking, the sills are significantly rotted. It's pretty much a very attractive, it's an attractive building, but it's an attractive nuisance nonetheless. It was constructed probably prior to the advent of the modern vehicle. Sarah can't fit her cars in the garage. And so essentially, what she's seeking to do is raise it, bring it from 20 by 24 foundation, bring it from a 20 by 22 foundation to approximately a 20 by 24 foundation. She's going to slide the building a little further away from the sideline, so she's not going to be increasing the nonconformity at all on that southerly boundary. And she's going to conform with the height requirements of the zoning bylaw. Essentially, there's really no room to slide it further away from the sideline and closer to her dwelling, and the reason is because the septic system is located in that area. And so that's pretty much it. She's seeking special permit and finding that it's not substantially more detrimental than the existing situation.
Okay, so she's going to go from, she's at the, I don't know, what do you know? It's 9.46 feet currently, and it's, I'm
No.
finding this hard to.
No.
It's currently 5.36, and we'll go to 5.5.
Okay.
So
At
the rear corner.
at the top.
The rear corner.
Right, and what about the, below that? Oh, that's going to
That
be,
will-
that's over 8 feet, so we don't worry about that.
Correct.
Okay. It's going to be 2 stories?
It is. I provided an elevation on the front. What I'm going to be doing is seeking to kind of maintain the character of the building as best you can, even though it's two stories as opposed to one, which is currently existing. And what she's going to be doing is, and she hired an architect to basically try to match the roofing and so forth. I happen to be a direct butter on the north, and so I'm not only here as her lawyer, I'm here as a person in the neighborhood, and she's done a great job, and I'm sure anything she does is going to be tasteful. And
You gotta make that kind of comment, you gotta sit back there, come on now.
Yeah. Also, Mary Fisher is here as well, and she was at 9 Black Beach, which is the rear abutter, and she's also here in support of the application.
So all of the abutters are here.
All of the others?
Yeah.
All 2 of them, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And what are you going to do with the space?
So the space will be used as a garage on the main surface, and she's a member of the bar, and so she's going to be creating an office above with a bathroom and a sink.
I think that makes too many lawyers on Country Way. I vote no. Okay, all right, good. I just didn't want to see it turn into an apartment.
Right.
Okay, so you can do home offices as an accessory building. I read that bylaw today. Okay, well, the design looks darling, you know, I'll say that.
Her commute's going to be better than mine.
Yeah, it's going to be better than mine, and I think it could get much better. Anybody else have a comment or question?
I'm only concerned that I don't think we have an issue, but it's currently a story and a half, I believe, and going to 2 stories. We have found that accessory buildings accessory to the residence are protected as well, under,
Now, yeah, that comes, and I kind of held this all along. Our definition of single-family dwelling is a building containing 1 dwelling unit and allowed accessory uses. The definition of accessory use is either a subordinate use of a structure or tract of land or a subordinate structure. So, you know, that links the 2.
Right.
And I think perhaps makes our bylaw a little more liberal than 40A, Section 6, but you can have a bylaw that's more liberal, 40A, Section 6. And I think it's a good rationale, I believe.
and I think that's the key point. I wanted to make sure we were staying consistent. I wouldn't want to see this used as an accessory dwelling
That's what I mean.
if it didn't come with an accessory dwelling permit.
Right.
Exactly.
And-
And we agree. We would, if we would seek to use it that way, we would petition the planning board for a special permit.
Right. Yeah. Okay, all right. Is anybody in the audience wish to be heard on this? Does anyone have a motion?
Move to find that the proposed raise and reconstruction of the garage at
310.
310 Country Way, according to the plan dated June 3rd, 2013, by Environmental Engineering Technologies, is not substantially detrimental to the existing conditions in the neighborhood, and grant the special permit to raise and reconstruct.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, good luck.
Is your pen working?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
I'm glad that you didn't reread the whole thing.
I wrote the next ad.
What was this one? Let's meet?
That'll be a nice little office.
It looks great. It looks a lot better than what's there now.
Yeah.
Jeff, so Nicole's gonna hear from you?
Yeah, I'll be sending a decision tomorrow.
Great. Forward it to us for our review and consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next.
That's a nice one. That was appropriate. That's what we're here for.
The 3rd application is John and Amy First Parish Road, request MDO 48, section 6, special permit process to expand existing non-conforming dwelling that is located at 14.
Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Greg Morse, Morse Engineering, representing the owners, John and Amy Kroger. As Nicole just stated, we're here seeking a Section 6 finding and special permit for an addition to Kroger's primary residence. The property is at 428 First Parish Road. This is in the Residence 2 district. They comply with all respects with the lot. The lot itself is approximately 29,000 square feet in area. It has 109 feet of frontage on First Parish Road. Residential butters all the way around the property. The structure itself does not comply with the lot width requirement. The requirements here are 125 feet through the dwelling. At no spot on this property is there a lot width of 125 feet. The Krogers are proposing an expansion of their house. There are two additions shown on this plan in yellow. The one along the front of the house is approximately 20 by 18. It complies with the front and rear and side yard setbacks. However, the lot width through that addition is only 115.7 feet. The second addition is a second floor addition only. It's over an existing first floor space. And that addition is 14 by 20. This puts the Krogers adding approximately 1,000 square feet to their existing home. This is a 63% size increase. We don't feel that this will be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. It puts their structure at approximately 2,600 square feet, and it complies with the front and side setbacks, and it's an allowed use in the district.
Neil, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I think it's pretty straightforward.
Sorry?
I think it's very pretty straightforward.
Okay. Frank?
Nope, no questions.
Ed?
So the only issue we have is the lot width. I mean, that's really the only reason you're here.
Correct.
Not everything else is conforming, and you'd be able to do this by right if the lot had lot width through the building.
That sums it up.
Okay, anybody in the audience wish to be heard on this application? No. Okay, do we have a motion?
Move to, we need to find that it's not substantially detrimental, I guess we do. Move to find that the proposed addition reconstruction at 428 First Parish Road, according to the plan dated 6/27/13 by Morse Engineering, is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood, and that the...
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we don't need to do that under the Gale decision, I don't think, anymore.
Well, wouldn't that be nice, but...
Yeah,
Just
because
let's-
under Gale...
Safety.
Yeah, no, we save you on that one, because you just have to identify the particular respects in which it does not conform to the present bylaw, which is lot width.
Okay, so,
We're not intensifying the existing nonconformity, and it would not result in additional ones.
Well, it is intensifying it a little.
And it's not a
isn't it?
substantial
it's just-
detriment.
Well, it's not.
No, only if it intensifies it, you have to find that it's
Well,
a
it-
substantial
well,
It
detriment.
does intensify it.
Yeah.
What's the lot width? How can you
It-
It's
intensify the lot
going,
width?
it's going from 117 to 115, right?
the lot, well, the lot width through the building, because the building is getting closer to the skinny part of the lot, so it is a slight
Yeah,
intensification.
So the lot width is increasing the nonconformity.
The width isn't changing, but the compromised
If I
activity
could
within
add
the width
something
is
here.
greater.
The bylaw reads, the lot width shall be, say, 125 feet when the house is constructed. It doesn't say anything about additions. So when a house is constructed within the 125, and they want to put on a back porch, typically we let them put a back porch on, just because of the way the bylaw reads. And I've never been called on it, but that's my interpretation.
Okay. So you're saying it doesn't matter on the addition?
Yeah, I mean, I could read you the language.
Sorry, the main issue here is our 810.2.
Because if it is an intensification, well, yeah, I mean, it would, let me find it.
Yes, 18.3, it just talks about
Oh, thank you.
non-conforming with sufficient lot frontage and lot area.
Yeah, here it is. In all districts except as herein provided, no dwelling shall hereafter be erected on a lot having less area exclusive blah, 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 or having less width measured through that part of the dwelling erected or to be erected thereon. So it refers just to the dwelling to be erected, does not refer to future expansions.
What are you reading from?
I'm sorry, it's 610.1A.
Okay. There you go. Okay. So it's
And
not...
so we can kind of ignore that.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll just do the, in accordance with, move to find that the proposed reconstruction additions under plan dated 6/27/13 of Morse Engineering, you still have to do, shall not be substantially more detrimental. Does not create the what?
Powers test?
It does not increase the non-conforming nature, even though it is recognized that the the gross living area shall increase by more than 20%,
Right.
because that's that other bylaw we added.
What was that last part? I'm sorry.
Even though the living area shall increase by more than 20%. And grant the special permit allowing the expansion.
Second?
Seconded.
Any discussion? Nope. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Welcome. Are you going to write that for us? No. Hi. I said no.
Know where to draw the line.
All right, whose turn is that?
I did the line.
That is, I'm gonna give it to Frank, I believe, because he hasn't written anything.
You don't want to-
Frank, how'd you get out of that?
I can do it.
That was
I'll send you the one I just, when he was here before it was the same thing, I'll send you a copy of it.
Okay, that'd be great.
Is that Frank?
Pardon me?
You okay with that?
Can-
Yeah.
Can you send him a copy of the one that we did on, I think it was Hadley Road?
Our next application is John Dow, trustee of Responsibility Union Trust, requesting variance from the for the property located at 529
Great plans.
Pretty plan. Hi,
Good evening.
could you identify yourself and tell us what your project is here?
Yes, for the record, Steve Giosa with Scituate Engineering, representing the petitioner in this matter. What we have this evening is a existing property located on the west side of Country Way. We're about right after the bend in the road. As you can see on the plan before you, the aerial photograph, we've outlined the subject property in yellow, just so it highlights and you can see it in the context of the neighborhood. This property is located in an R2 zoning, residential zoning district. As the board knows, that minimum lot sizes in this area are 20,000 square feet with 125 feet of frontage, with the exception of a situation if the lot happens to front on a cul-de-sac. There is a provision in the zoning that would allow the frontage to be reduced to 60 feet as long as the minimum lot width at the structure at the time it's constructed is 125 feet in width. This particular property has a little over 64,000, almost 65,000 square feet of total area, and it has 98.85 feet of frontage on Country Way. The aerial photograph is good for seeing the overall picture of the property as it's situated in the overall zoning district. We have a number of other exhibits to present to the board. The first one I have here is an existing conditions plan. Highlighted what exists on the property at this time. You can see we've got a fairly unique shape to this lot. It has the narrow piece coming up from east to west from Country Way. North is to the top of the drawing before you. Country Way closest to me. And you'll see what we've shaded are the existing structures on the property. This site has quite a bit of history to it. Back in 1988, there was a petition filed by a prior owner on this property to the ZBA looking for permission to create 5 residential structures on this site. There had been some unlicensed modifications to structures on the property by a prior owner. They then tried to create a 5-unit condominium project by coming to the ZBA to try and get some grandfathered rights to the 5 structures. I've gone through the minutes of that hearing from 1988. There was an extensive amount of testimony from neighbors at that time. And as part of the findings of this board at that time, it was determined that there were 2 residential structures on the property that met the standards for being legitimate existing residential structures, and that the remaining structures had been altered without the necessary permits or approvals of town agencies, town boards, the building department. So the variance petition in that case was denied by the zoning board. My client purchased the property in 1989, has owned the property continuously since then, and is looking to upgrade and reconstruct a portion of the property. If you look at the drawing, the determination made by the zoning board was that the structure closest to Country Way and then the structure immediately behind that were the 2 pre-existing dwellings on the property that were considered single-family detached residential properties or dwellings. The other 3 structures you see there was a barn, a shed, some conversion that had occurred, again, without permit. So although there are structures on the property, they did not have standing as residences. You can also see that 3 of the structures, the 3 that were not classified as the residential properties, are fairly close to boundary lines of abutting properties. In this zoning district, the side yard setback is 15 feet, the rear yard setback is 30 feet, and those 3 structures are well within those setback areas in all 3 cases. What the zoning also allows, if you have sufficient frontage and area, is a 50-foot wide or 50-foot frontage lot for lots within the R2 zoning district. And that would require 50 feet of frontage for each lot, contingent upon having double the required minimum area, so requiring 40,000 square feet per lot as opposed to the 20,000 square feet allowed by the underlying zoning. Again, in this case, we only have 98.85 feet of frontage and about 65,000 square feet of total area. going to show one other exhibit before I get to the applicant's proposal. When the applicant approached us, or the petitioner approached us, they asked, we want to upgrade the property, eliminate those older structures, and do it in a way that we can separate the residential structures onto separate lots. So in addition to everything else, you have 2 single-family dwellings on a single lot. And the first option that was under consideration was what I have before you, which would be the creation of a cul-de-sac road. It would create sufficient frontage for 2 lots. Each lot would exceed 20,000 square feet. On the cul-de-sac, the zoning allows a frontage along the right-of-way of 60 feet. Both of these lots would exceed that. And at the building setback line requires a minimum width of 125 feet. Both of these lots would also comply with that requirement. But in doing this, it would require an incredible amount of alteration of the land. The topography, again, we believe is fairly unique. If you've been out to the site, from Country Way, there's a retaining wall along the frontage of the road. The lot jumps up about 3 feet or 4 feet at the street line, and then gradually rises towards the back of the property. So construction of a subdivision road of this type would be a significant amount of land alteration, a significant amount of impervious area being created, but it would create lots that comply in the R2 zoning district for frontage and area. We don't believe that that's in the best interest of the neighborhood, and what the intent here is to clean up some non-conforming conditions, not increase the density over what exists today. Under existing conditions, there are 2 single-family residences on the property, and this would give us something that would comply, but we don't think would be a great idea for redevelopment or upgrade of the property. So what we did do is look at the 50-foot regulations for lots and the idea of using a common driveway, which is allowed through that section of the zoning, and eliminate all the existing structures, so get rid of the non-conforming setback issues, create some better buffers to adjacent properties, set the houses back in the larger block of land towards the far western end of this property, respect all of the required setbacks from abutting properties, both from a front, side, and rear setback, prohibit any structures of any type within 200 feet of Country Way, and again, not increase the density on the property as it currently exists. We would also maintain the existing curb cut location onto Country Way, utilize that, create a new surface to it because it's in pretty tough shape. So again, upgrade the aesthetics of the front of the property, provide landscaping between Country Way and the proposed dwellings, and obviously buffers around the subject property. So in order to do this, we would be before you this evening requesting relief from the zoning to allow us to split the frontage in half. And where the current zoning requires 50 feet of frontage for those lots, we would be asking a variance to go down to 49.42 feet of frontage for each lot. So just a little over half a foot deviation from your zoning requirement for minimum frontage. And then this particular lot, that tail of the lot that comes down from Country Way, actually narrows down a little bit. So it does not meet the full 50-foot width all the way back to the meat of the lot where the proposed dwellings would be constructed. So we would need a variance to allow that tail on the lot to not be less than 50 feet, to allow down to a 49-foot minimum width. That would allow us to basically split the difference between the two sides, the north and the south sideline of the property. And then finally, because your zoning requires the minimum lot size to bump up to 40,000 square feet, Each parcel would then be 32,200 square feet approximately, if this relief were granted by the board. We believe we have a unique situation here from a land shape standpoint. You've got the narrow frontage opening up to a very large piece of property. The lot does have enough area to support 2 single-family homes on the current zoning if a subdivision road were constructed, but we believe that construction of that subdivision road would be more detrimental to the neighborhood than the proposal before you this evening. We think it's also unique from a topography standpoint, as we indicated earlier, where the front drop-off in the lot does exist. We also believe it's in keeping with the intent of the bylaw, and won't derogate from the intent of the bylaw, because again, the intent of the bylaw is to minimize curb cuts on a public way, which is the idea behind not having frontages going below 50 feet. There is 1 curb cut on the property now. We're not proposing any additional curb cuts. We would utilize a common driveway for the property. The bylaw also is intended to maintain density. Again, there are 2 single-family dwellings on the property. At the end of the redevelopment of this particular site, if it were allowed in this fashion, we would still have 2 single-family dwellings, and those dwellings would actually be in closer conformance with the zoning, because it would in fact meet all of the setback requirements and not encroach upon any setbacks. The neighborhood, in terms of not being a negative or a detrimental impact on the neighborhood, we are, with this configuration versus the cul-de-sac, reducing impervious area. We're eliminating a potential roadway that would be petitioned for street acceptance potentially in the future for town maintenance, so there is a direct benefit to the community of not having an additional street being petitioned for road acceptance. By not altering the curb cuts, we won't be disrupting the existing traffic flow and sight lines in the area for access to the public way. And by eliminating the subdivision roadway configuration, we would be able to increase green space and landscaping buffers in the most visible portion of this lot, which is basically the piece closest to Country Way. We went back and looked at the aerial photograph, or if you look at the assessor's map, the majority of lots in this zoning district, they're ranging in size from 20,000 to 35,000 square feet. The 2 resulting lots here would in fact comply in shape and size at the end. Maybe not shape, shape's pretty unique here, but in size, in terms of square footage, with the average lots within the zoning district. And in fact, a lot of the lots in this area are 20 to 25,000 square feet in size, and we would be over 30,000 square feet if the requested relief was granted. So with that, we would respectfully request your consideration of the applicant's petition.
Well, first question I have, you haven't been to planning, correct?
No. I met with the town planner.
Yeah.
I did present this information to her. We did talk about it. And then the question was, which group do we go to first, the ZBA or the planning board? And so it was determined that maybe we should come here first to see if what we're proposing does in fact meet with your satisfaction in terms of moving forward.
Well,
So, the 2 questions, the frontage and the lot area, are those both questions for us? Or is the lot area a question for the planning board?
no, it's, we have to decide whether or not they meet the very, very high standard for variance, period. I have to tell you, I'm confused on something on your map. You've got 68.6 for the frontage.
Then next to it, you've got 30 more feet. Go to the left,
Yeah, there's a angle point or,
where the arrow is on the angle.
It's over here.
I got, no, I mean, this is the, what?
there's an angle point in the frontage.
30. Here he's got
Oh,
So the 19 just went to here.
So what the surveyors have done is shown, there's a section that's curved, there's a section that's straight, so there are two components to the frontage for one of those lots.
The reason it's broken up, he's saying, is because this isn't a straight. It just doubled lot size. It has an arc to it, even though it's minute.
All right, I don't think it's well, I've never seen it done that way. It's totally confusing to me, because it doesn't look, whatever. Okay, so now I understand. All right, so, where to begin? Okay, first of all, I think the general idea is fabulous. However it ends up getting built, it's going to be an improvement. It looks, in fact, I'm looking at it was on the town map. It looks like one time there were 6 structures on it.
Yeah, I'm just going by the variance petition. I
Yeah.
thought that they said that there were 5, and I have an old plan, and looking at the aerial photographs, we had the survey crew go out there. Right now, there are the configuration of the buildings as we showed on that original
Yeah.
exhibit.
It certainly, it would be nice to have something done. I personally don't think you meet the standard for a variance, okay? Also, I see your subdivision plan, but I think if you went to the planning board and approached it as a subdivision, you could probably get away with, they'd probably help you reduce the side of that road. But, shape, you're talking about this shape, not a variance standard. I've been on this board 7 years, and that's the only guy we've ever given a variance to, and it was about shape. It was an island, okay? But, even looking at this, there are all kinds of lots that are shaped, substantially similar. It's not like you're without any remedy either. You do have subdivision that you can go to. And creatively thinking, you've got a neighbor on one side that has 40,000 plus, the other neighbor's got 49,000. You only need a couple more feet to buy, maybe from your neighbors to get that 50-foot lot, and a couple more acres that are way in the back that, might work out for you. So for me, you're not meeting the standard for variance even a little bit. And although I think that it's a great idea, it's a situation that I think we would meet multiple times for people in a very similar situation, and all of a sudden, we're going to be creating 50-foot lots out of people who are, short 2 feet. Well, I'm only short 3 feet. How can, I'm short 5 feet. Why can't we get it, you're not talking inches, and you're not talking a few square feet of lot size. You're talking, significant to me, 8,000 square feet per lot. You're short, almost. So that's my take on it. Yes, Neil?
I just wanted to ask, have you considered 81L
I don't even know what that is.
through the planning board where you separate the lot?
As under the Sitco statute, it's basically 2 existing structures on a
Yes.
single parcel. And that is an option available. The problem is the positioning of the 2 houses. They're in an awkward, they're in an awkward
Because I-
position to really clean up the property.
I looked at it, and the question I had, well, they then could, if the houses were on either side, they could come to the zoning board, because under our bylaw, once you 81L 2 houses, they take on non-conforming status, pre-existing non-conforming status under the bylaw, therefore you could come in for a reconstruct. But I'm not sure if you could put that 81L line through the houses.
Not through the houses, right.
You have to, what do you have to do? Demolish them first, maybe, huh?
No, they have
Then
to
you're not
be,
going
they have to be existing.
Oh, they have to be
And
existing.
you can do a division.
Did you do that at the end of Turner Road or something like that? Yeah.
We had this on the corner of Jericho
Steve,
and,
yeah.
Yeah.
no, another one, there was Jericho and,
But that's something you might
Fulham, I
want to
think,
look
or
at.
something.
Okay.
Yeah, something to look
And
at.
the other thing, can I mention one more thing? These houses are probably over 100 years old. We have a demolition delay bylaw in Scituate.
Sure.
Oh.
So you'd have to, and they have, the ability to say, yeah, that's fine.
No, we understand that. Yeah, the statute that the building commissioner is referring to allows us to file a plan, basically a Form A plan that would go to the planning board, that would show 2 lots being created with each dwelling being situated on a separate lot. And under what's commonly referred to as the Sitco statute, that would be allowed to go forward without relief from the zoning board. But we're trying to get to a point where, because of their unique position on the property, we think it is a unique situation, that it would not allow us to clean up the property the way that would really improve the neighborhood and be less detrimental to the neighborhood, just because of the way the shape of the lots would have to be configured. Again, we're at your mercy, obviously. We think that it is unique. I mean, the idea of uniqueness in terms of a hardship goes towards the shape, topography, soil conditions. I think that the fact that they're under the underlying zoning where 20,000 square feet is allowed, we have over 60,000 square feet, but because of that shape tapering down, does create a kind of a unique situation from a density standpoint. Although, under your 50-foot regulations, yes, we do need that 8,000 square feet of relief. Under the underlying zoning, the lots are going to be greatly over the minimum requirement of 20,000 square feet. So when you look at the 50-foot frontage requirement type of density, the idea is to try and minimize number of curb cuts and to try and get common driveways and to get the lots clustered in the back where they may be less intrusive in the neighborhood. Again, I think it does meet the test for a hardship, but I know we don't agree on that.
Yeah, we don't, I don't agree, but I don't know if, Frank?
I think I'm with you, Sarah.
Okay. Ed?
I'm trying to find it.
Oh,
We allow a duplex on a lot with double the lot size,
Yep,
right?
that's correct.
Can that be done on a 50-foot frontage lot? I know we can't create a 50-foot frontage lot.
Yeah, when you,
But this is a pre-existing
I think when
non-conforming
you
lot
create
that
a
has double.
50-foot frontage lot is for a single dwelling typically.
Yes, but this is a pre-existing 50-foot frontage lot, or 99-foot
Yeah.
frontage lot, with 2 houses on it.
Oh, yeah, they could, I mean,
They
they
could
come
create,
in.
they could just come in and create a
They
duplex.
could
couldn't they?
reconstruct both houses with a special permit from the zoning board of appeals, and then they could condominiumize, which a lot of people do.
Right. I think that's the key to me, for me, is it is a very high standard for a variance, and I don't think you have the standard. And I think the greater issue is you've got all sorts of alternatives. You can reduce the density by putting 1 home on it.
Right.
You can maintain 2 residences on it as a duplex, where you have common ownership of both and rent or do whatever. You can raise and reconstruct 2 buildings on the site and condominiumize where the land is held in common ownership. There's lots of ways to accomplish what you're wanting to accomplish without a subdivision or a variance on a 50-foot frontage lot. That probably would be cheaper. Might not be as much of a moneymaker because you can't sell them off as 2 separate lots. But the reason for the double of lot size on 50-foot frontage lot is there legitimately, and you far fall short of that standard. I could argue that the 6 inches is not a big deal. I've heard that quite often. But let's try to stay away from the 50-foot frontage issue and talk about the lot size. It just doesn't come anywhere near the standard.
Tony?
I would agree. I mean, I understand the applicant's point that it would be allowed if they put in the cul-de-sac, and, as we look at this, maybe it looks better, but when you apply the variance standard, like he was saying on the lot size, I don't think we meet the standard. I think that maybe the condo approach, which, drafting-wise is probably a little more complicated, but you're gonna have an easement agreement for the shared driveway here to begin with. I think that that's probably aside from doing the cul-de-sac version that you showed us, that might be the best idea that avoids trying to meet the variance standard, which, at least on the lot area, I don't think you're there.
I think, too, if you go to the planning board and really sit down and talk to them, it's 2 houses on a cul-de-sac. They may ease the requirements of the road. I mean, it's certainly something to sit down and talk to them about, so you're not going to have a giant street there, but,
Well, that's the other question. I know of lots that exist on a paper cul-de-sac that's never been built. One of the houses, one of the structures has been built. The lot has been developed on that cul-de-sac, which doesn't exist. Could you get a cul-de-sac approved and put in a common driveway instead?
I think it has to physically exist on the road.
For the second lot,
on the,
for the second
on the
lot to
land,
develop?
Yeah, I mean, otherwise it's a paper road. You can't give a permit on a paper road.
Okay.
but again, there's always the negotiate with your neighbors. You're not missing a ton in terms of,
Well, square footage, he's
yeah. No, but yeah, look at this, the way it is. I mean, you got,
Well,
I'm
only-
telling you, I've seen Paul Marabito come up with some pretty
This guy
amazing.
can give him some land.
Exactly.
You're going to be hard pressed to.
500,
Yeah, a little
The
nip
condo
there.
is the solution.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how
Or a duplex.
typically handled.
Yeah.
Or a duplex where you still have 2 residences, but it's all under one ownership. You can't farm them out separately.
Anybody in the audience wish to be heard on it? Yes, sir.
Bob Davitt, I live at 526 Country Way, which is directly across the street from. I'm not totally opposed to the proposal in lieu of what's there. I believe, I've read over the rules that I think the frontage issue, even though, like I say, I'm not against it, I don't believe it's a matter of a foot. If that's a common driveway, there's a section in there that says common driveways cannot be used to satisfy frontage requirements. So does that mean that he shot 1 foot plus the driveway?
No.
It's not allowed?
It would mean that if one lot, if it was short, say the driveway was 10 feet wide, if one lot was short 10 feet, they couldn't say, oh, well, we have rights in the driveway on the other lot, so we have our 10 feet. I believe that's the intention of that portion.
You can't
of the
double dip.
bylaw. So running feet along the street, these 2 lots come together for approximately 99 feet. That's what it is.
So I couldn't understand.
It is,
Yeah.
that is an awkward
Short,
section,
where
yes.
it doesn't satisfy, but like I said, I'm not
Of
totally
course.
opposed to this offhand.
Right, I mean, I think anybody looking at it would think that in general, the idea is a great idea to get rid of these small little houses. I'm sure they'd be beautiful houses, and I just think you're not going to be able to do it from this board at this point.
Okay.
Okay, so, Steve?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment, and I want to start, if I can, Steve Bjorklund. And this is just one sentence from a recent letter that came from town council on another matter. But the sentence basically says, Section 810.1 of the zoning bylaw provides that once a non-conforming use or structure has been abandoned or not used for 2 years or more, the legal non-conforming status of the property is extinguished. In this particular case, you've got 2 houses that have been vacant for years up there and not used, and, well, 2 legal. They were 2 legal structures.
They've been abandoned for 4 years.
Correct. But there were 2 legal single-family dwellings on this site by zoning board decision back years ago. Those have been not used for years. The lot itself only has 99 feet of frontage, so it doesn't qualify for a duplex lot. Because a duplex lot, you have to have 100 feet of frontage and twice the area.
Read the
US
short
twice
story.
the area.
Steve, that's not before us anyway. I didn't know anything about him being abandoned, but in general, I mean, he's going to have to figure that
The
out.
comment I'm making was
Yeah.
Ed had said that he
Oh.
could come back with a duplex and try and divide it up that way.
Yeah,
But you're saying because it doesn't, the argument that
It's been
it no
abandoned.
longer is 2 residences on the lot, that you couldn't use it as a grandfathered situation. It's been
If that's the
abandoned.
position that the board takes, yes.
But again, the evidence before us at this time is that there are 2 residences on the lot, and that they exist and continue to be a residence. Now, I don't know anything more about that as
I don't either.
presented before us. I can understand the argument you're making, and I would advise the applicant to be aware of it, because it might come up from neighbors or butters, or people with standing in an application before us. But if there are two pre-existing structures on a non-conforming lot, the applicant should be able to raise and reconstruct two structures on the lot, residences, if they continue to be protected under the non-conforming pre-existing status.
Yes.
And that's what I was suggesting.
All right, so what would you like to do?
On behalf of the petitioner, we will respectfully request to withdraw our petition.
We will, I think we have to move to vote that?
I would move to accept the applicant's withdrawal without prejudice.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Without prejudice, you may come before us again.
Great.
Absolutely.
If we had a decision, you couldn't see us for 2
Would
years.
you like these, would you like these, because you might be able to use them again?
No, that's okay, keep in the file for the record, and I've got plenty of paper to take back with me.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck. And hopefully you can get something done.
Well, we have a couple of other ideas, and we'll pursue those.
That's
Thank
a
you.
great idea.
I don't think anyone was
I'll write
not
that one.
supporting the concept,
Exactly.
Yeah.
but just simply dissent.
And I appreciate
It was
that.
withdrawn, I just need.
I know, I still wanted to
Oh,
say.
we put that in writing.
Yes, I will.
Thank you, okay.
Thank you.
Your stack's getting bigger there, Mike.
I have a lot of paper too, yeah.
Okay, our final application this evening is continued from August 15th. Captain Daniel Lane requesting 48, section 6, in a floodplain permit pursuant to section 470.9 of the Scituate zoning bylaw, or any other relief the board finds necessary to allow reconstruction of pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling units and all properties prior to the pre-existing non-conforming lot located at 141 Fairmount.
Mr. Hayes.
Michael
Good
Hayes,
evening.
I represent Seek Orphan trustee, the applicant. Sarah, I note that John Allen's not here tonight,
Yes.
and he was the sitting member on this application.
I understand he had a week to go to.
Yeah.
You want to continue?
Well, I have recommended to Steve that we continue till John comes back, yes.
Okay. Why, who is, do we not have 3 continuous people?
It was before
I was here.
you were here.
I
I wasn't here for the last continuance, but
I don't think,
it was a continuance. I was here for the last.
Have you not been here, Ed?
No, just the testimony wasn't there. There wasn't any, I have been here for the testimony, because there was only the one hearing for the
One hearing
testimony.
was
I think it was John, Sarah.
It was John, Sarah, and
Yeah,
Ed.
for that one.
Yeah.
I wasn't here?
oh, well, it's up
I was
to
here as
you,
well.
you know?
I mean,
When we went over
I
Gale?
thought I was.
I think you were, Frank, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I would respectfully request that we continue to a date that John and you and Ed would
Okay.
continue with this application.
All right. Do we have a motion? And
Pardon
you
me?
don't have to have a motion,
I think it is
do we?
Judge
You
Chapman,
can
but
just-
I'm not offended.
No offense intended.
I didn't know I tipped my hand yet.
Do we need, we just need a, we don't need a motion on,
You need to vote to continue.
oh, we do. All
Yeah,
right.
and our next hearing is October 17th.
Let me just check.
Move to
Wait a minute,
continue.
don't go yet. Let me just check my calendar, make sure I'm going to be.
Could I make a brief statement?
You certainly may.
Kind of statement. And I know Nicole is on top of this, because we discussed this today,
I'm good.
but we need to make sure we get an extension form and get it filed with town clerk.
Yes, okay. Do you have extension form?
Attorney Hayes actually has been writing formal letters and sending them to me, so if he could do
Okay.
that tomorrow,
Yep.
that would be great.
May I ask another question? Do these forms have to be filed with town clerk?
I don't know the answer
I
to
fi-
that.
I file them with town
You do?
clerk.
You filed them,
I
okay.
always do
All right,
that.
thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're certainly on record saying that the timing is not the issue. Any extension that needs to be done, we're willing to work with the board.
Okay,
But we'll get that letter to Nicole tomorrow. Sure.
okay, very good. So, do we have a motion to continue the hearing till October 17th?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
You plan on being here on?
Yes,
I'm just looking to make sure I'll be
We
here.
just want to let you out early tonight, that's all.
thank you.
There you go.
Is there a baseball game?
Baseball and football.
Oh, that's right, football.
Is
there a football game tonight?
Eagles?
Spent half my afternoon on this application.
You didn't spend as long as we spent, I'll tell you that.
I'm sure not, but I spent a lot of
Shall we
time.
move to adjourn? Then we can let the, shall we move to adjourn? We can let the young lady go?
Oh, yes, yes. All right, can we move to adjourn the meeting?
Yes, so moved.
Second?
Second? Yes.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Meeting is closed.